Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden. It is the end of June right now and I wanted to give you guys a little garden tour. I meant to do this a few days ago, but it's just been so hot. I haven't really found a good time to do it. And I just figured, you know what, we're gonna bite the bullet. We're gonna do it today. Everything's wilting. The sun is starting to cast some shade over the garden right now, so some things are looking a little bit better. It's the heat of summer here in Texas, so it's just gonna be hot for a while, but I do have lots of good things to report. So let's put this wiggly cat down and get to it. I believe these beds are a new addition since our last garden tour. They went in the ground at some point in May, but I really like that they are next to this fence, which gives it the first shade in the garden in the afternoon. It comes in really handy when we have these really hot summers here. I did finally pot up my black sesame plant. It's got nice little pods on it, and I did try to start more seeds. So far, 2 of them came up. I also have blueberries that Nutmeg is blocking and chasing birds. Come on, we don't need a bird. We don't need to eat a bird. But I have blueberries back here, and in the next bed, I have some peppers, most of which I started from seed. They are a little bit behind right now, but it is what it is. They're getting some protection from the sun. I do have some peppers on a couple of them. Some of them went into some extreme transplant shock, but like I said, a few peppers here and there. So that's kind of the gist of this bed. I started it very late for Texas, so it is going to be a bit behind. This is my OG bed, the first bed I ever got planted here at the house, and I was able to get peppers in here a lot earlier, so they are doing really well. This is my Hungarian paprika. I did harvest some about a week ago and I am drying them. These are my serranos. They're finally starting to turn color. They look great. This was supposed to be a jalapeno, as the tag says, but as you can tell, this is nothing like a jalapeno, so that's fun. This is supposed to be a cubanella. At first it looked like a regular bell, but we'll see. These are Tabasco, no production yet. This is a cute little ornamental pepper that I didn't know was ornamental at the time. That's a fish pepper. These are lemon drop, which are super spicy, but are supposed to have a great flavor. So we're starting to get some color on the older ones. As you can see, it is very productive. We've had a little bit of fruit and flower drop, as you can see down there, but nothing too crazy. The chives are still doing really well. These are my Greek pepperoncinis. I did actually just harvest them because I'm gonna pickle them right after I film this, but here's what an immature one looks like. And this one's got a little bit of damage, but that's okay. So I did just kind of strip off the plants, but next to them I have my shishitos and a row of leeks. The shishitos are way overripe. Most of them are red at this point, but that's okay. That just means that they'll probably be a bit spicy, and I am going to strip the plants tomorrow and eat them all. But I did want to talk about these leeks. I just kind of planted them here because I thought the pepper bed would provide good spacing for them. They don't take up a lot of room, and alliums can be a really good companion plant for peppers. But what I saw in a video recently is that the peppers actually help out the alliums. And you can see by how crazy big this leek is that is true. These I normally grow in the winter, but I decided to try some out in the spring, and I have an absolutely gorgeous leek that I would typically harvest in the winter. So next year I'm going to be planting lots of onions and different kinds of alliums in with my peppers because this did such a good job. Moving on, this is my blackberry bed. My husband recently built me this makeshift trellis, and to protect my blackberries from the birds, oh, I also have this adorable little flower here. It's called hyssop. So cute. But to protect from bugs and things, that's fertilizer, I put them in these little baggies. So nothing is touching my blackberries. Probably will harvest them because I did have a problem. You can see this blackberry here has issues. I had a problem with bugs all over them, these little orange bugs. As soon as I put these little bags on, the bugs were gone because they obviously lost their food source. Oh, and down here, you'll see a lot of these in my garden. This is a black swallowtail caterpillar. I've planted a lot of plants that attract them, that the caterpillars feed on, and so we have a lot of them. I do have enclosures that I usually put them into, but I am going on vacation in a couple days, so we're just gonna leave him here. Next to that bed, I have this sort of crazy makeshift bed. It is supposed to be my asparagus bed, so here's my asparagus. I started these over winter and they're doing really well. My Swiss chard that I also had in winter has done surprisingly well. A little bit of burning from the sun, but because it gets that early afternoon shade, I've been able to keep it alive. I threw in this purple bell pepper just because I ended up buying lots of random plants after I had already set up all the beds, so they kind of just went wherever. My coriander has completely died back now, and I need to harvest all of the little seeds. I've got a nice basil here and then a parsley, so that's this bed. Backtracking a little bit, this is my herb bed. I am absolutely in love with this bed. This is my German winter thyme, which does really well in the cooler weather, but it's staying strong right now. I also have marjoram, which doesn't love the heat, but it gets good shade. This was my curly parsley that did a lot better in the winter, and it's just been flowering like crazy right now, so I'll probably end up pulling it. The rosemary has taken off. My variegated thyme from my mom. If you're watching this, Mom, hi. It's doing really well. She sent it to me as a little cutting, and it took and is growing. I also have 2 different types of sage. My sorrel is wilting, but it does that every single day. I just recently added a fennel, and my oregano is blooming as well. But if you're able to see, the little bees love it, so I'm just letting it bloom. Next to that is going to be my artichoke and kind of other herbs bed. I just had way too many herbs to put in here, so I am making half this bed artichokes. Unfortunately, they did not produce for me this year, so I'm going to cut them back at the end of the season, and hopefully we'll get some next year. I also have lemongrass, which is doing really well here despite the heat. This is the last of my garlic that just escaped, so I'll probably be harvesting it once I get back from vacation. I also have a little fennel here, some oregano, things like that. Over here, this bed is pretty much empty right now. The only things I have left are my carrots, which are flowering, and some scallions. My radishes never really did well. There's a couple of them kind of nestled in here. That one actually went to seed. And then this was all garlic and onions, which I have taken up. It's very hard to get things to sprout with this kind of heat right now, with the exception of beans. So I'm thinking I might just do a few rows of bush beans here just to keep this soil active for the rest of the summer. Next to it is my strawberry and kale bed. The kale has definitely seen better days. I've basically just been cutting it back because there are a lot of things that attack kale in the summer, and then I'm hoping in the winter we'll have a strong foundation for having good plants, though that one back there I'm just gonna rip up because it looks terrible. The strawberries, on the other hand, have been doing so well. They've been putting out really nice runners that are already rooting into this soil. Once I added this cedar shavings mulch on top, it really helped them as well because it retains a lot of moisture. And then I have just a couple little companion plants in here. I have a nice variegated sage, and I have an English thyme. The berries that the strawberries are putting out right now, I also wanted to mention, are fairly small. This is about the average size, maybe the size of my thumb, but that's okay because usually the first year that your strawberries are in the ground is the worst, and they continue to get bigger and better over time. This is my first year with these strawberries, and the fact that they're already branching out so much gives me a lot of hope. Moving on, this is my cherry tomato bed, and it's been doing really, really well with the tomatoes. The companion plants underneath are getting lots of shade as well, which is helping keep them alive in the heat. The leeks are doing okay with the tomatoes. I mean, I'm not mad about this, but once you compare this to the pepper bed, it's just night and day. So while it is a nice companion plant, I might still plant these with the tomatoes next year. I think I'm gonna focus more on planting these with alliums. Now, with that being said, let's look at some of my tomatoes. These are my black cherry tomatoes from Baker Creek Seeds. I did harvest a few of them already, but this is my second batch, I guess, of production. I have a bunch of the black strawberry tomato from Baker Creek Seeds as well, giving me lots of nice tomatoes. I have a pink bumblebee also from Baker Creek Seeds, and then sort of my nursery bought ones back here, the sun golds, of course. And I have one that was a sun gold that I started from seed, but the tomatoes came out red, so definitely not a sun gold. And then lastly, I did buy this one, I think 2 of these. These are the large red cherries. I bought them at a nursery. They're just a really nice cherry tomato to have, and they're huge. They're honestly huge. I love them so much. And I do want to show you guys, we have a little garden friend, a little spider. I know it probably won't focus on him, but he's kind of neat. So he's protecting this bed from bad bugs, one of which is actually right here. Please go away. Okay, so next to it is going to be my large cherry tomato bed. This bed did not go as planned this year because my yarrow got huge. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. I want to keep it alive, but I have to move it. It can't be in here anymore. But I also have a bunch of leeks. This was actually the bed where I started them off from seed while it was still winter. But I do want to highlight this tomato right here. This is the Canestrino tomato. I have never seen seeds available. I actually got it when I used to work at a butcher shop, and we got in these tomatoes one day. I thought they were so cool, so I decided to try saving the seeds, and it worked. I ended up with 3 plants that survived, and they're giving me tomatoes. I also have these Romas back here, but unfortunately the Roma plants did not do well this year. They're just ridden with disease. They don't look good. So as soon as these are done ripening, I'm gonna rip them all out. I already ripped one out actually and replaced it with this little sun sugar, which is a cherry tomato, but the organization of this bed just went by the wayside. So that's what's going on there. This is the newest tomato bed. We just put this in May. I had these tomatoes that I started all of them from seed. They're not doing great. I waited until they were really big. I kept up potting them, kind of burying the stems so it'd have a nice root system. And they all did have really nice root systems, but it just gets so much sun here, and they just weren't established in the ground before it got really hot. So I don't know, maybe we'll get some production in a few months once the weather breaks and it's not over 100 degrees anymore. But even the leeks are kind of sad. I feel really bad for them. But next year I'm hoping that this will do better. Just because this was the newest bed, I don't have a ton of expectations for it right now. Next to it over here, this was my onion bed, and as you can see, there are only 2 onions left. I am waiting for them to flop over, though this one looks like it's pretty much gonna be there. But I'm waiting for them to flop over so that I can pull them out, and I just wanted to replace them with things that will hopefully produce but also provide some good ground cover. So I have 3 sweet potato plants here. I heard they're heat-loving plants. They do wilt a bit during the hottest part of the day, but they recover pretty quickly. And then over here, I have a spaghetti squash. I had some issues with my squash bed, as you will see shortly. So I bought this little guy at a nursery recently when they were having a sale, and I put him in. Also, this straight neck squash, I bought him recently as well, and they are doing pretty well getting settled in. I know this bed gets a ton of sun and the squash aren't loving it, but I'm hoping with some hand pollination they'll do a bit better. Over here is my watermelon bed. I actually just harvested a watermelon 2 days ago, but I did have to start over my beautiful gray zucchini. It got squash vine borers. Sorry, can't talk. And that was really devastating to the whole plant. I was only able to harvest 2 squash from it, but I got to plant this little guy. I started him from seed, and this little lip here provided enough shade that it was able to germinate pretty well and has been growing very happily. The watermelon, on the other hand, actually doesn't really want water. It's kind of crazy. I had one split on me because I watered it too much, but I have this one left. It looks really nice. It's maybe about halfway done. I have it on this sling so that I don't break the plant, but other than that, it's doing really well. Not a lot of fruit set right now because it's so hot, and I've probably been overwatering it actually. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. Maybe when I'm gone on vacation, the neglect will take over and it'll actually give me another watermelon. Over here, I forgot to mention, this is my 3rd pepper bed. This is supposed to be all cayenne peppers, though the real stars right now are these marigolds. They look so good. I did buy this as a cayenne plant, and obviously it's a shishito, which is fine. I love shishitos. Just a little annoying. I do have some cayennes in here. Some I started from seed, some I bought, but I do have something weird. I think I'm gonna have to come around to show you. This is supposed to be a cayenne, but that's the size of the pepper. That's just way too big. So I don't really know what this is. This might have been one of my seed ones, so I could have made a hybrid on accident. I don't know. We'll see. So that's the cayenne bed, lots of different stages of growth there. And next to it, this is one of my new loves in gardening. I had never grown beans before, but it's safe to say I'm obsessed now. So I have a little milkweed here for the monarchs, which will stop by eventually. And I did move my savory. It was in there, getting way too big. So I moved it here, and now it's getting way too big, but that's okay. So I have the bush beans. This is the first iteration, and then I planted more seeds a couple weeks ago. So all the little ones are the new ones. I have soybeans, which I've been using for edamame. These were the first ones that I harvested from. You can see one down there that I missed. I'm waiting to see if they'll grow again, but I actually don't think they will. And then 2 weeks ago, I planted these soybeans. And then a week ago now, I think, I planted these. So we'll kind of have stages. Oh, I can also show you my bush beans. All of these, actually, the seeds came from Baker Creek Seeds. So this is the Kalima bush bean. That is the Tankuro soybean. And then this is the real star of the show. So these are pole beans, and they're also just green beans like these, except they're way cooler. So this is the Chinese green noodle bean. This is a mature bean, and they are known to get up to 2 feet long. I had one, my longest one so far was 23¼ inches. So really hoping to get to that 2 feet, but they have climbed all the way to the top of my trellis. They're doing so well, and this has been such a joy to grow. Here's another one that is nearing maturity, but it's maybe about 1 foot long. I guess you could eat it, but I like to wait for them to fatten up a little bit like that one. So these are just a lot of fun. They have a really nice, unique flavor, and it's been a real joy growing them. They're putting out new growth points now, so I'm just trying to train them to go up the trellis. The original growth points go up the trellis really easily, but once they do all these little offshoots, they don't know what they're doing. here is my very sad squash bed, but it actually looks a lot sadder. So squash vine borers basically destroyed everything. I ended up putting some pole beans here. These are the French beans. They're adjusting to the weather, but I do have a little bean on it, which is nice. Like I said, they're adjusting. A lot of sunburn, but this was supposed to be a squash bed, and you can kind of see here where we had to cut open the actual stems of this plant and dig the squash vine borers out, which was not fun. There's also squash bugs that I'm still killing the eggs. So I lost all of the butternut. This is like the last spaghetti squash that I have. The pumpkins have really recovered well, and I did just have a female flower in here that I hand pollinated yesterday. So hopefully that will work. I see another male flower in there. Love to have another female, but that's okay. So we're recovering, but this was a major fail this season, and at the very least I cannot grow squash here next year because the squash vine borers, they're like, once their larvae are mature enough, they'll actually burrow in the ground and come up as a moth next year. So I don't know, we have a bit of a predicament with squash next year. I might take a break altogether, but I do love squash, so we'll just have to see. I do know what I'm looking for now, so I know what to do if it happens again, but this was kind of sad. I also have this pretty sad looking dill plant, but it's only sad because it has been picked apart by these cuties, the little black swallowtail caterpillars. I only have small ones right now because all of the big ones actually just left me to go make butterflies. I do have some that are in a chrysalis in my enclosure inside, but I haven't been collecting any new ones again because I'm going on vacation. But they're just so cute. I know it's trying to focus, there we go. But they're so stinking cute. I'm not even mad that they're destroying my dill, but it's just kind of the nature of it. They've already eaten through 3 other dill plants, so this is my last surviving one, but they do like a few other plants in my garden. Next we have this cucumber bed over here that's doing pretty well given the heat. I do have some spare tomatillos. You can actually see the little cucumber there. Nasturtiums are gone. They can't handle a Texas summer apparently, but production has slowed down a little bit. I've already made a lot of pickles. I have 3 different types of cucumbers here, and since it's slowed down, I actually decided to start some new seeds. So I've got a couple there, one there. I did start some carrots as well, which is really nice, and then I have another seedling over there. Carrots and cucumbers get along really well, so I wanted to make sure to integrate them together, and I don't think I have any other big cucumbers right now. I do have this little guy and I have that one, but I've been harvesting like crazy, just trying to have enough cucumbers to make another batch of pickles before we leave. But that's the cucumber bed, and the last bed over here is the tomatillo bed with this absolutely gorgeous basil plant that I just have to keep pinching the flowers. It's just been a struggle. Once they start trying to bloom, it feels like they never stop until the weather gets cooler. But that's okay. I will probably dry a lot of this basil soon, cut it way back, and then it will come back even fuller. So it's just a whole process. The tomatillos have also slowed down given the heat, but I did get 3 quarts of them this spring and early summer, and I was able to make my first batch of tomatillo salsa. I do have 2 different types of tomatillos here. These bigger ones are the tomatillo amarillo, so they are yellow, and then these are the regular green tomatillo. I got these as seeds from Baker Creek Seeds. Unfortunately, I did get them into the ground a little late, so they aren't setting any tomatillos right now. I've been impatiently waiting because I would really like some green ones, but I did just harvest a few this morning, so I don't think there's anything really big. But here's some little guys. The Amarillo ones do start out green and then they'll turn yellow. This one is just absolutely out of control. A lot a lot of them tend to look like this, where they branch out a little bit, but this one was just crazy bushy, so I don't even know what to do about that. The best I could do is make these makeshift cages, and they seem to be containing the plants really well, and there's a lot of room for most of them at the bottom in case any overripe tomatillos fall to the ground. Just wanted to give a few other updates. So the birds actually planted these beautiful sunflowers for us. I have quite a few of them out here. This one is so heavy that it's actually falling over, but that has been a lot of fun to have sunflowers. My dragon fruit over here is also acclimating really well. We have some new prickly growth points, super cute. This one is new as well. So I also have these two cuttings that fell off my main plant that rooted. So hopefully in about a year or maybe 2, we will get some dragon fruit. All right, that is it for our garden tour today. The wind has actually picked up, so it feels a little bit nicer out here than when we started. It is so hot today. I think it's 105, which is crazy, but Nutmeg actually doesn't mind. If he gets hot, he just hides out in the shade. But thank you so much for watching this video and coming along with us today. If you liked it, you can give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything else from me and Nutmeg here in the garden. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next one.